quickly. I'm Port Elgin Ward Councillor for Saugeen Shores. I'm also a member of the Saugeen Shores Heritage Committee. I'm here today on behalf of Councillor Cheryl Grace, who is unable to be here, and she is the chairman of this committee. I'd like to introduce Diane Huber, the Deputy Mayor, who will be also a member of the committee, who will be saying a couple of words in a moment. Bill Streeter, who is a local historian, a renowned historian, and really kind of the driving force behind a lot of these things here. Okay? And we also have, I should introduce Jill Root, Manager of Strategic Initiatives for the town, our Deputy Clerk, Sarah Wilson.
And Fran.
Okay. And
Fran Barrett.
Fran, member of the committee as well. We also have Dave Reynolds here from the Beachers Association. And Jamie from the Beachers also.
Ooh, the public's here. Yay!
The public's here. Okay. So now I'm going to call on Diane to make a couple of words on behalf of the town.
It's really just a couple of words. On behalf of council, we really appreciate that the Heritage Committee does activities like this, because telling the stories about the history of our community is very significant and very important, and these storyboards tell that story. So there you go.
Okay, I'm going to take just 2 or 3 minutes and tell you a little bit about what you're going to see on here. It's all going to be on here anyway. But the first time that this was sighted was 1820 during a hydrography survey that was being done of the shoreline of Lake Huron. And when the crew came by, they saw a fine sandy beach, and it was recorded as such. And they then indicated this was a landing spot for indigenous people, and in the future could be a landing spot for European settlers. Well, as we all know, in the 1850s, that's what became here. The industrial commercial area started up in the far end up here, and it lasted for a number of years, and it included sawmills, it included the tannery, it included shipping and transportation, and all of those types of goods. And eventually, along the shoreline here, started to come some cottage resort homes and cottages. And one of them was still the big building over there, and it was a big building that arrived there. And they had mineral springs there. They became a very popular spot for people to come to. And over the years, it became very popular, and this whole area developed. The man by the name of Cameron, he was an agent at the station agent. He became the reed, and he convinced the town that as this area, the commercial area was dying off, we need to develop it and make it a pure beaching area, which is what happened. And as you know, some of you will remember, this whole area then became a development. He said, if we do that, we're going to get, the trains are going to bring lots of people here. Well, and the trains did, and then eventually became a place. Now, over time, we've seen an enormous amount of development that's happened here. You know, in 1924, there was a dance hall built, and it was called the Cedar Crescent Casino, okay? And with big band music then. Well, then, as us new kids arrived, it became a rock and roll center. And for those of us who can remember the 1950s and 60s, we can remember the great dance hall we had, and how wonderful that was. Time continued to progress, and we saw outdoor green grass mini putt. Okay, we saw tennis courts. Okay, and over behind that big hotel, we got to remember that in 1928 and 29, the Toronto Maple Leafs had their training camp there. Okay, lots of great things happened. You know, and then there was a gazebo that was built, and now this is a replacement gazebo we have today, but it became the center of attraction for Sunday night music. And for many, many decades, that was a great tradition here. Time travels along, and someone decides we've got to do some boat tours. So remember the Restless 1 and the Restless 2? They took tours up along the shoreline, scenic tours, and also, what a wonderful way to see the sunset out on the cruise in this Restless 1 and 2. Time continued to progress. 1973, we've got to get a little train that runs out of here. So we started the train. That developed into a 1 mile loop train. We went up to North Shore Park and come back to here. So we've seen so much development and work and things go on here over the last 200 years now. We go back to the fine sandy beach days. And it employed tons of young people, whether they worked as lifeguards, whether they worked in the tuck shops, the little restaurants, the Harbor Light, the tea cafe, and the different places that have been here over the years. It's been wonderful. But one thing that's been consistent is those lovely strolls we take to see the sunsets. And this is, the place has a great history. We've got to thank Anne Marie Collins, who did a lot of the research. The previous member of our committee, she couldn't be here today. She did a lot of the research, and also the Bruce County Museum staff. This is a beautiful plaque, and I'm sure that you'll get lots of raving remarks. But it's a wonderful spot to watch the sunsets, and that's a little bit of the history. There's lots more on the plaque. Thanks very much.